Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope and my team selection video for Game Week 20, which is a pretty major team selection video because I am using my wildcard. I have been able to save the wildcard up until this point, and I'm doing pretty well for myself in FPL as well, with a huge rank gain up to 60k this week after getting 56 points from mostly down to one beautiful man, Hwang Hee-chan, Handsome Hwang as I usually call him, because he is the most handsome player in FPL. Hee-chan, I brought him in Game Week 16. He had blanked in 3 game weeks in a row. I was sort of losing my patience with him, but I figured I'll give him one more week against Brentford before I wildcard him out. And he repaid my faith in him with 14 beautiful points, with 2 goals, a brace before the half, and then he got subbed off at the half because he was injured, which is kind of sad. But he seems to be back fine now for next game week, but he's probably going to be leaving my team because I'm on a wildcard and he's leaving for the Asian Cup in Game Week 21 as well. But beautiful parting gift from Hwang Hee-chan, 14 points, which brings me up to 1,127 points in total. And like I said, an overall rank of 60,991 in FPL in total. So really happy about that. Only 30 points behind the top 10k now. I'm going to push on and probably overtake a couple of them now with the wildcard in hand as well. I think most people in the top 10k have already used their wildcard, so I have a pretty big advantage there to go inside the top 10k, which is always my goal for every season. But yeah, basically going through my team, in goal I had Dubravka, who was again a disappointment against Nottingham Forest, conceded 3 times, only got 2 points. Trent was in my defense. He was my only transfer this week, in for Chimikas, who was injured, and Trent got 8 points from an assist and 2 bonus points. And the same could be said for Pedro as well. He conceded 4 goals, in fact, and it looked like he was going to go for a 0-pointer. Then he got a pretty late assist, which brought him up to 2 bonus points, and then they're put 5 points in total. Pedro, who's been a pretty big reason why I've gotten so many green arrows lately. I have had like 5 green arrows in a row, I think. I've gone from like 340k-ish around the start of December, and now I'm in the top 60k just about, so yeah, pretty happy about that. Gabriel Magalhaes, I can't say the same for him. He's been pretty disappointing in general. 1 point again against West Ham, which is not too bad because I'm a West Ham fan and I was pretty happy to see West Ham beat Arsenal in general. So yeah, don't really mind the 1-pointer, but Gabriel has just been a pretty big disappointment for me in FPL. He did score that 1 goal for me though, at least with 10 points. This past game week or game week 17, I can't remember. So many game weeks in a row now, so I keep losing track, but either way. In midfield, I had Salah with 6 points as my captain. Once again, a pretty bad captaincy choice with Salah. I think captaincy has been like my one glaring mistake, or like the biggest mistake the last few game weeks. I haven't really been able to hit on the captaincy choices the last few game weeks, and that has sort of kept me even further away from the top 10k, but can't really complain with a couple of green arrows in a row and 60k at this moment in time, so pretty happy about that. Son, 5 points. He also got an assist for Spurs in that loss to Brighton. He's also likely to leave my squad with my wildcard in Game Week 20 because he's leaving for Asian Cup in Game Week 21, and they have a really depleted team already and are facing Bournemouth, who are like the form team of the league. So Son is most likely going to be dropped from my wildcard draft for Game Week 20. That's a bit of a spoiler for the end of the video where I'm going to reveal my wildcard draft. Saka, again, someone that I am considering selling on my wildcard, but at the same time, he has really good fixtures coming up, and Arsenal just, I don't know, I think at some point they're going to figure it out and score a lot of goals, but they just keep creating chances, but just can't seem to put the ball into the back of the net, which, yeah, disappointing for anyone that has them in FPL, but yeah, 2 points from Saka, not the best from him. Hwang, like I mentioned, 14 amazing points from him. Basically saved my game week in general, or made my game week pretty great in total. Pretty happy with my overall score when it comes to my game week. So yeah, really happy about Hwang, obviously. Watkins, again, pretty disappointing with only 2 points. He hasn't really been the best since I brought him in. He got 9 points in his first game when I brought him in against Brentford. And then after that, he's blanked twice in a row. First as my captain in Game Week 18 and now in Game Week 19 as well. So kind of disappointed with Watkins in some decent fixtures, at least lately. Solanke with 6 points, again, returning with another goal. He was huge for me last week with a hat-trick and now scored again from a penalty this time. Really happy with Solanke with 6 points. And then Archer, who I actually had to start this game week because Palmer got suspended, and it ended up working nicely for me because Archer got an assist and got 5 points. And I finally get those points off the bench from like the 4.5 backup option that I have, because usually I have like a backup option who I need for like a game week or two, and they always seem to blank. Last season, especially with Andreas Pereira, who got like 10 points every other game week, but every time I started him, he basically got nothing. But it's nice to get a goal return there from Archer, 5 points from him. He's looked a lot better now lately as well, but again, he's probably someone that has to leave my team because yeah, it doesn't really fit my plans. But yeah, a nice parting gift from him as well with 5 points. And in terms of my bench, I had Turner in goal with 3 points, 1 more point than Dubravka, but I would have started Dubravka again over him because I expected Newcastle to beat Nottingham Forest, but they ended up losing 3-1, but 1 point between them doesn't really make that much of a difference. Udogie with 0 points, pretty happy that I started Archer over Udogie. I just didn't trust Spurs defense to keep clean sheet, and yeah, then I figured Predapor was the better option, and that turned out to be a good decision as well, so happy about that. Kabore was injured, didn't play this game week, and Palmer was suspended, didn't play this game week, so they ended up at 0 points each as well, but really happy with my GW19 score, so yeah, that was actually, yeah, I got 56 points from this game week, and that was really close, like this close to being the manager of the week this week in the FPL Scope Mini League. Because usually I present whoever becomes the highest scoring manager that particular game week, I present them in either the FPL Scope podcast or in this team selection video. And it looked like it was going to be me as the manager of the week for the longest time. But there was one little thing that ended up making me come second place instead. And I'm going to show you the manager of the week, and you can basically figure it out for yourself. Because looking at this team, there is one sort of obvious late point getter here, and that is starting with the goalkeeper, David Raya. He saved a penalty against West Ham in the final game of the game week, in the final minute, basically, or in injury time. West Ham got a penalty due to Declan Rice slipping and tripping over Emerson Palmieri, which was kind of fun as a West Ham fan to see. But either way, even though I love Declan Rice still, that gave West Ham a penalty. And Ben Rama, who's usually really confident from the spot and scores, he basically had a pretty poor penalty, and Raya saved it. And that made Noah Arnautovic become the manager of the week because he overtook me by 2 points. That 5-point save or 5-point swing from Raya basically helped him get manager of the week ahead of me. So yeah, shame for me, but at the same time, I get to talk about another manager of the week in the FPL Scope as well, not just talk about myself. And I want to invite everyone else to join the FPL Scope Mini League as well. I know there have been a lot of new viewers lately now with the holiday season and stuff, so really happy to see you there. And I hope you can join the Mini League as well. And you can also become manager of the week if you become the highest point getter in one particular game week, just like Noah Arnautovic did this week. So yeah, if you want to join the mini league, it is league code V9JT0D. So I'd very much appreciate it if you join the league. It'd be really nice to compete with you because I'm getting pretty close to the top there as well. Like I think I'm in the top 10 now in that mini league in total. So pretty happy to see that. I'm actually ahead of Noah Arnautovic, who is 380 or 344k in the world, which is just about where I was at the start of December. So that could change quickly. He can get into the top 100k pretty soon as well. But yeah, we'll see what happens with this team. But yeah, just going through the team. Raya, like I mentioned, 6 points in goal. Really good from him. Trent and Virgil van Dijk with defensive points for Liverpool. I think going with Van Dijk on top of Trent was kind of a bit of overkill, but still worked out and ended up giving this manager the Manager of the Week award. So happy for him in that sense. Senesi is a different player for me. 6 points from the Bournemouth game. Pedro with 5 points as well for Noah Arnautovic. Also has Salah and Saka just like me. Salah's captain as well. So the captaincy sort of failed for the Manager of the Week, but still enough to be the top scorer in the FPL Scope Mini League this week. Gordon with 1 point, really disappointing from him, but yeah, he's just been really disappointing alongside Newcastle the last few game weeks. They are pretty tired, it seems like, and yeah, Gordon is kind of done as an FPL prospect, I feel like, because Harvey Barnes is going to come back pretty soon, and yeah, they have some pretty tough matches coming up, so he might be the one to sell next week, as we'll see pretty soon. Jared Bowen, who's been a much better asset in FPL, got 6 points for this manager with the goal, or the assist actually against Arsenal. The controversial assist where he kept the ball in barely, maybe, potentially. There were no conclusive evidence to tell you that he didn't keep the ball in play. So yeah, ended up with an assist from that. Up front, Solanke and Semenyo for Bournemouth with a return each. Solanke with 6 points and Semenyo with 5 points. Semenyo was actually auto-subbed in for Haaland, who this manager decided to keep for this game week. Kind of, I don't know. I wouldn't have done that. I probably would have sold Haaland if I was in this position myself, but I probably would have bought in Watkins, who would have blanked or gotten 2 points, and this manager wouldn't be a manager of the week anyway. So yeah, maybe I ended up doing the better choice with Virgil van Dijk in defense there, I guess. But yeah, 58 points in total, 2 more than me. Kind of bitter about that, but at the same time, congrats for being a manager of the week. And yeah, let's just go ahead straight away and look at your team for next week and what you can potentially do if you're watching. Hopefully you are watching. Not much flexibility with this squad, obviously, with Haaland still on the bench. Haaland is also out for the game against Sheffield United, which is a pretty huge letdown for anyone that has kept him so far. Yeah, that has been the wrong decision basically to keep him after he was out for game week 17 and then was had a blank for game week 18, and now he's out for game week 19 as well, and now he's also out for game week 20, so missing quite a few game weeks there for Haaland. So he's going to stay on the bench, and not much flexibility with this team. 1 free transfer only and 0.1 in the bank. Really not that much you can do about the team, but luckily it has like a pretty good starting 11 at least. Semenyo is probably like a bit of a shaky pick still. But I think Spurs is basically a team that is there for the taking. So I don't really mind having both Semenyo and Solanke in this game, because Spurs have shown that they can concede so many goals in the same game, and Bournemouth are in red hot form as well. So I don't really hate it that much, the striking partnership of Solanke and Semenyo for this game week. But the one weak link I think in the starting lineup for this team is Anthony Gordon, who's playing Liverpool away. Really tough match. Newcastle are terrible lately. They're really knackered, especially Gordon, who's played so many minutes. So I think selling him would be the priority. And I think there are 2 really good standout options actually for a pretty cheap price. So Olise for Crystal Palace is looking really good for them. He's scored in like 3 game weeks in a row now, I think. He's also the penalty taker for Crystal Palace, who have a really good fixture now against Brentford in game week 20. They also have a really good fixture in game week 22 against either Burnley or Sheffield United or something like that. Can't remember exactly who it is, but they have a really nice fixture in game week 22 as well. Not the best fixture in game week 21 though, but I think Olise is a fantastic pick for this week, and yeah, someone that I'm really considering myself as well. I think he's just a really good pick, and has proven to step up another level, because there were some interest from both Chelsea and Man City at the start of the season or before the season in bringing him into one of the top 6 clubs. But yeah, he's staying for Crystal Palace, and he is one of their most important players. Now he's back playing. He was injured for the start of the season. He's back fit. Eberechi Eze is back fit, and when both of them were on the pitch last time around, Olise took the penalty over Eze, so that's another point in favor of Olise, who's also on set pieces, who's also integral to their open play. So yeah, I think Olise is a really good pick. But we also have Garnacho, who has Nottingham Forest away this week, which is a good fixture, and he has a better fixture next week as well when they play Spurs away. I think Spurs at home even. I think Spurs are basically there for the taking, so I think Garnacho is going to be a really good pick for the next 2 game weeks as well. So really hard to decide between these 2 guys. You obviously save a couple bucks from going with Garnacho. He's a bit cheaper than Olise. I think it's just about $1 million between them. So that might be the preferred move, but money shouldn't really be an issue either, with Haaland still in the team and Trent in the team, and also selling Salah when Salah leaves for African Cup of Nations most likely. So plenty of options there to do some really good damage here in total. So yeah, I think that is what you should do this week. You do Gordon out for either Olise or Garnacho. Like I said, I think Gordon is sort of done as an FPL pick. I don't think the same about Trippier, to be honest, but Trippier is not in this team, so it doesn't really apply. Could also potentially sell Lascelles and go with someone like Gusto, for example, but I think Garnacho or Olise is slightly higher upside, because they are midfielders compared to being a defender who plays for Chelsea, who are pretty poor defensively, even though Gusto has been pretty impressive, at least last game week. But yeah, we'll talk more about Gusto pretty soon as well. But in general, decent looking team for this upcoming game week. I wish you luck, and hope that you can become Manager of the Week another time as well, maybe after I get Manager of the Week for once as well. But we'll see. Maybe that will happen for me as well this season. Maybe I'll end up top of the league by the end of the season as well. We'll see about that. And hopefully you guys watching can challenge me and try to go for that top spot. Maybe you're in the top 500 or 1,000 in the world, and you just want to join this mid league, because yeah, that would be nice to see as well. But yeah, that is the Manager of the Week for this week. That's that done, and there's only one more thing to do, or 2 more things I guess to do, before I look at my wildcard plans for next game week. And that's looking into the free hit draft that I had last week, and also the free hit draft that I have for game week 20. Just in case you are on a free hit, I just want to give all of you guys who use a free hit every week, or not every week, there is someone using a free hit, and I want to give those guys basically my thoughts about the best players to pick for that one game week in particular. And that's what I'm going to do right now. But first, I'm going to take a look at what happened in game week 19 with my free hit draft there, and how that did. And 47 points, which is pretty decent. 2 million game week rank, which is not too bad. It's kind of like middling. Of course, it's less than my team, because this team does not have Hwang Hee-chan. I had sort of lost faith in him as a good prospect, but I also had enough faith in him to keep him in my team. So he got 14 points. But instead I had actually Olise. I backed him last week as well. It's not just because he scored against Chelsea that I had him, because yeah, I thought it was a good pick before this past game week, and I think he's still a good pick at this point. So he ended up with 9 points, which was really good for this team. Trent in defense, obviously easy pick, 8 points. Pedro Porro with 5 points, really nice from him. Solanke with a goal, 6 points. He was also a pretty easy pick. So both Solanke and Trent, who are two of my favorite differentials, this past game week for the free draft, they delivered. Gordon did not deliver though, because I suspected Gordon at home to be just fantastic against Nottingham Forest, who have been pretty shaky defensively, but just wasn't meant to be for Gordon or for Trippier to be honest. So other than those players that I mentioned, the rest of the players just blanked, apart from final bench option, Alfie Doughty for Luton, who's a decent pick in his own right. He ended up scoring a goal against Sheffield United and getting 7 points. So, well done for him as well. So, 47 points in total for this team in Game Week 19. Let's see if we can make that better for Game Week 20 in my free hit draft for Game Week 20. So this is basically my team for Game Week 20. It's a pretty cheap team as well, because Haaland is obviously not there. Son is also not there, because I just don't trust Spurs at this moment in time, especially against Bournemouth, who are really good. But let's just go through the team from goalkeeper all the way through every single bench option as well. Ederson in goal. I really like Man City's fixture against Sheffield United at home. Ederson is the most nailed defender or defensive option, I think. I just don't really like picking any other defenders there, really. And I think Ederson compared to Walker, I just think there's more interesting options in defense than Walker, who's going to get a clean sheet at the most, basically. Ederson is also most likely just going to keep a clean sheet at the most, but the ceiling for goalkeepers is lower, so I feel like getting a goalkeeper rather than a defender from City is the right move to do. Could also go with an attacker, but with both Haaland and De Bruyne still out, I guess it's only Bernardo Silva who's a decent option there. Doku's still out as well. Grealish I don't really trust. So I think a defensive option for Man City when they face Sheffield United at home seems like a pretty good idea. So Ederson gets the nod in goal. In defense, there's a player that I'm really excited about for this game week, Alex Moreno. He is someone that before the start of the season, most people pinpointed him as when he is ready to play and fit to play, I'm going to bring him and he's going to be a really good player in FPL. But Lucas Digne has been really good this season. He's looked terrific for Aston Villa, and he's probably going to be a rotational risk with Alex Moreno for basically the rest of the season, it seems like. So Moreno's potentially not the best long-term pick. Maybe he can make that left-back position his own, but because now Digne had to walk off injured last time around, and he's out for 20 to 25 days. Unai Emery said, and that's basically Game Week 20 and Game Week 21, and then he'll be back for Game Week 22 to compete with Moreno for that defensive spot at the left-back position for Aston Villa. But Alex Moreno, whenever he's played, he's been fantastic. He has one start so far this season, scored a goal. He had a goal disallowed or something, or had a huge chance in another game where he came on as a sub. He's just generally a really attacking fullback, and I think it's the best pick in defense this game week in general. Playing Burnley at home, fantastic fixture. Aston Villa have been sort of disappointing lately, been looking a bit tired, just like Newcastle. But I think Moreno is just a fantastic pick. He's super offensive, can both assist and score, and plays for a decent team with a decent defense. And especially at home, they've just been terrific in general. So Moreno, I really like him as a pick. Trent, as always, just feel like he's a mainstay at this point in the free drafts. Just feel like I don't want to go without him because he could just explode and get a goal and assist at any point in time. So I have him there as well. Gabriel, who I always have faith in, playing against Fulham away. I still think Arsenal will keep a clean sheet there, but you never know. But he's a decent option. Salah again as captain. I still think Salah is the best captaincy option, even after having him fail as my captain in 3 out of the last 5 game weeks or something like that. So one more chance for Salah against Newcastle at home. It's basically just down to Newcastle being so tired, so leggy, so awful looking, and Salah playing on the same side as Dan Burn most likely, if Dan Burn gets to play this game, because I think they should play Livramento as a left back, because Dan Burn and Salah, that smells disaster. Smells like disaster for me, for Newcastle at least. But for Salah, I think he's just the best captaincy option. I wish it wasn't like that, because then I would be able to sell him in my own wildcard team, but I just think he's the best captaincy option basically this game week. There are some good captaincy options though in the team in general. I'll talk a bit more about them as well, mainly Foden and Solanke. But first, we're going to talk about Elise again. I just think he's a great pick. Brentford at home, great fixture. Brentford are awful at this moment in time. Tony is still not back, and Mbeumo is still out injured. So Brentford are there for the taking, just like we saw Wolverhampton do against them now, with Hwang scoring twice. So Elise could maybe do that again as well. And Elise is just fantastic pick in general, so you should really consider him if you're on a wildcard, or if you need to do a single transfer like the manager of the week needs to do with Gordon most likely. I think Elise is a fantastic Gordon replacement, basically. Then we have Phil Foden playing at Sheffield United at home. Phil Foden looked amazing against Everton, playing in a really attacking role. He got a really nice goal as well, nice long shot. And in general, it just looks like a good pick. Sheffield United at home is a great fixture, and he got a lot of praise from Pep Guardiola, which often spells disaster because he usually praises players that he all of a sudden starts to bench. Rico Lewis and Nathan Ake from last season comes to mind at least. But I think Foden just looks amazing. We know how high his ceiling is. We know when. Also, that doesn't count for this game week, I guess, with De Bruyne and Haaland being back eventually. But we know how good Foden can be for Man City in general. So really like him. Maybe a slight differential shout as captain, but I think Salah is just a safer pick, especially being on penalties and all that stuff on top of that. Kudus I really like, of course. He is leaving for AFCON, so you can. Most people can't really buy him for their actual team if they don't free hit. But if you are on a free hit, I think Kudus against Brighton at home. Brighton, who can concede a lot of goals pretty quickly, as we saw against Spurs. I think that's a pretty good fixture for Kudus, who's been amazing for West Ham. There's just a slight caveat there that maybe he doesn't play because that game is scheduled to be on the 2nd of January, and the African Cup of Nations players are supposed to be released at the 1st of January. But I think West Ham will get an exception to play Kudus in this game week. But if you have the money to do so, you can go with Bowen instead, I guess, because he's also a really good pick against Brighton. Watkins up front again. He gets another chance. Burnley at home. He failed against Luton at home, failed against Sheffield United at home, but maybe third time's the charm against what I think is the weakest out of the three defenses, especially now with Luton and Sheffield United looking a bit better defensively. I think Burnley is the easiest team to target out of the three from the newly promoted side, so hopefully Watkins can return some points this time around again. Solanke and Spurs, like I mentioned, I think Spurs are basically there for the taking. I think Solanke is actually... I have the vice captaincy on Foden in this image, but I think Solanke is probably my favorite vice captain choice at the moment. I think he might even be the best captain's option this week because he's in red hot form. Bournemouth are in red hot form. Spurs are basically conceding goals for fun. They're awful defensively and they're playing super attacking football. Going to be a lot of goals in this match most likely. So yeah, Solanke seems like a decent pick, and we've seen Bournemouth score a lot of goals against Spurs in the past. I think Kiefer Moore scored a brace against them last season. So yeah, Solanke is a great pick in general currently, and Spurs as well. Just a really nice game to have at this moment with all those injuries for Spurs. Romero is out, Van de Ven is out, as we know. Bissouma is out suspended. Sarr is still playing this game, but he's going to leave for African Cup of Nations soon as well. So Kulusevski's out suspended for this game as well. So yeah, it's basically there for the taking for Solanke and Bournemouth this match pretty much. Then we have Julian Alvarez, who I also added. I think he's going to be on penalties, of course, with Haaland out. We saw against Everton that he scored a penalty, was really close to missing it, and I think if he had missed that penalty, the hype around him would be so much lower. But in general, he looked pretty threatening in that game. Alvarez, he had a couple of big chances. He missed those chances though, because he's been kind of not the clinical self that he's been in the past few game weeks. But I think Sheffield United at home is just a really good opportunity for Man City. I've basically just been sold on Alvarez now, which is funny because Alvarez, I was one of the early adopters of Alvarez this season. I brought him in for game week 3 and he was absolutely fantastic for me when most people were struggling with Nicholas Jackson. But this moment in time, I'm actually slightly more skeptical to Alvarez than most people, it seems like, even for this game. But yeah, for like a short-term punt now with Haaland out, confirmed out, Alvarez makes all the sense in the world, playing for the best team in the league, most likely, against the worst team in the league, most likely, as the penalty taker and set piece taker for Man City, and as the striker for them, or at least like the most attacking player, I guess, for Man City. So yeah, basically writes itself, and that's why he's my favorite differential, I guess. But I really like Solanke as well, so he could also be my favorite differential because, yeah, like I mentioned, I might prefer him as a captain's option to the City guys like Foden and Alvarez, but Salah is still the best captain's option for me, I think, in general. Backup goalkeeper Areola, just because he's cheap, basically, plays against Brighton, probably going to concede, but Ederson's going to start anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Palmer as my first bench option. I think he is going to be in a couple benches this game week, because I think Luton away is slightly tougher fixture than we give it credit for. We remember last time against Luton, Chelsea scored, I think Sterling scored a hat-trick. That was before Palmer started for the team, so maybe it won't be as difficult for Chelsea, but away to Luton is different than at home to Luton. So yeah, Palmer is nice, but I think I prefer the other 7 attackers in this team, and often 7 attackers that you can put ahead of Palmer. But he's cheap, he's on penalties, really good player, and Chelsea look a bit better now with Nkunku in the squad. So yeah, Palmer is definitely a good shout. Then we have 2 pretty decent defenders in Konsa and Guehi, 2 guys who kind of want to be on the plane for for England for the upcoming Euros, but probably won't make it. But yeah, Konsa and Guehi, two really good defenders, really good young English centre-backs. Konsa playing against Burnley at home, I think that's a great fixture. I think Moreno's just a better option because he's more attacking. And then Guehi finally against Brentford at home, I think that's a decent fixture, but Palace have been a bit shaky lately, so yeah, he takes up the third bench spot. And that's basically it for the free hit draft for Game Week 20. 99.0 million in total is the cost of this team, so anyone should be able to afford this team, even with Bowen rather than Kudus. I think should be easily doable. So yeah, decent team. Salah captain most likely, and Solanke as vice captain, I would say, but maybe Foden if you're feeling frisky. But yeah, I think Solanke is a more safe pick with penalties and all that stuff, and being more clinical and just being in better form than Alvarez basically. But yeah, that's basically it for free hit draft. Now we get to the main part of the video, which I say after 25 minutes of blabbering on and on. We come to my wildcard draft for Game Week 20, and I tinkered with this quite a lot, but I think I'm pretty nailed on like 12, 13 out of the 15 picks. But yeah, let's just go straight into it and look at my plans and my sort of dilemmas and stuff. So yeah, these are basically my players now for Game Week 20 with my wildcard, most likely. Done a couple of changes. The two Korean guys, Hwang and Son, are out. I've done a couple of changes in defense. Kabore has left the team. I just feel like he's not the best. He's going to AFCON anyway as well, so I have better options for a cheap price. Actually also sold Pedro Porro, who is still in consideration. I haven't sold him because I still have value tied up into him, just 0.1 million I think tied up into him. So I haven't sold him actually in my team as of right now. But both Pedro Porro and Udogie, who I had in my team, are basically leaving the team, I think, most likely. Because, yeah, I just don't trust Spurs defensively. And yes, Pedro Porro is a fantastic attacking asset, but that is going to change quite a bit as well with Maddison coming back, potentially already in Game Week 21, at least in Game Week 22, I think Maddison is going to be back. He's going to be on set pieces, and that's going to be a huge detriment to Porro, who has taken like 47 set pieces, I think, since Maddison got injured in Game Week 11. And that has helped Porro get a lot of assists. It has helped Porro get a lot of bonus points. And without that, I think Pedro Porro is just a way worse asset, especially seeing as Spurs just concede so many goals. And they just, like I mentioned earlier, Van de Ven is out injured, Romero's out injured now as well. Bissouma's out, both suspended, and he's going to AFCON. Pape Sarr is going to AFCON as well. That's going to not be the best for them either. I think Spurs are just struggling at the moment with a lack of personnel, so I think they're going to concede in most games, and I don't think Pedro Porro is going to have quite as big of an assist threat still, but I was kind of swayed about him getting the assist and getting the bonus points from that one assist in a 4-2 loss. That sort of swayed me a little bit to consider him at least, but most likely I'm going to drop him and Udogie. Udogie, who I have had since Game Week 1, and I have a lot of value tied up into as well. It's just, I don't trust him to keep a clean sheet, and I don't really think Udogie is the best going forward either. So, yeah, I just think there are too many good defensive options currently. Because as you can see, I don't have Alex Moreno either, who I think is a really nice punt for a couple game weeks at least. He's definitely someone that I'm considering as well. I think maybe he's the one that I'm considering rather than Pedro Porro as my final defender. But currently I have it on Branthwaite. I just feel like I don't really need to spend too much on this team. I want someone to be on the bench most game weeks, and Branthwaite fills that role. He's someone that I can spot start whenever I need him to, and he's someone that can stay on my bench whenever I need him to as well. So I really like Branthwaite as a pick in general for a really cheap price. And he's been really good this season in general, and Everton defense has been pretty good. But yeah, other than that, also just switched up my goalkeepers a little bit. I had Turner and Dubravka, and Turner is going to leave my team. And he's going to be replaced by either Henderson or Areola. I still haven't decided yet, but both of them rotate really nicely to Dubravka. I'm still really high on Dubravka in general, and Newcastle defense, I don't think they've turned to shit for some reason all of a sudden. Yes, they do lose quite a bit from going from Pope to Dubravka, but I still think Dubravka is a good goalkeeper. I still think he's going to keep his place for Newcastle. I think it's about 75% chance that he's going to stay as the goalkeeper for Newcastle. So yeah, I really like him for the future. But I need someone for the immediate few game weeks, and also game week 26 and 28, where Dubravka has some more tough fixtures. And that's where both Henderson and Areola have really good fixtures in all those games, pretty much, apart from maybe one game week out of the next three. But it's just really hard to choose between them. I think Henderson is like the more, obviously he's the less popular option because most people have Areola in their team already. I'm actually quite jealous of people who have Areola and Dubravka, even though most of them feel like they are shit goalkeepers, because yeah, so far Dubravka has scored points or yeah, Areola has not scored points when people have started him. He scored points when people have benched him, and Dubravka has not scored points since people brought him in. Goalkeepers has been a nightmare for most people in general, with Pickford starting off the season really badly, or Onana starting off the season really badly. People selling them, and then they become really good goalkeepers. But I think with goalkeepers, just stick with what you have, basically. And for such a cheap price for Dubravka, starting goalkeeper for Newcastle, I just think he's the best pick in goal. And then I just need to figure out who I go with Henderson or Areola. Henderson is 0.2 more expensive than Areola, so that is a bit of a detriment. And also Henderson is slightly more at risk of losing his place because Sam Johnson started this season in goal for Crystal Palace, did really well, kept a lot of clean sheets. But now he has been injured and Henderson is back into the team, so at least Henderson will play this next upcoming game week at least. So yeah, I just think Palace are a better defensive side than West Ham. Yes, West Ham have kept 2 clean sheets in a row now against Man United and Arsenal, but I think that's also mostly down to West Ham just being really, really, really defensive against the top sides as well. So it's going to be hard to predict when Areola gets his clean sheet points in general. And West Ham just seem to concede stupid goals here and there. So I think Henderson is a more solid pick. That's why I'm currently leaning towards Henderson, but he's also more expensive and slightly more rotation risk. So especially with Dubravka as well being a slight rotation risk as well, maybe I end up at the end of January without a starting goalkeeper, which would be pretty bad. But with Areola I would save myself of that embarrassment, I guess. But I don't know. I really like Dubravka. I pretty much like Henderson as well as a decent option in goal. So I think that's going to be my rotation, but Areola is definitely in consideration there as well. Because of my defense, Trent Alexander-Arnold locked into my team. Basically, he's just all the rage currently, scoring a lot of points and just being a really good player in general. So yeah, even with not the best fixtures currently, I think he's a great option because yeah, he's a really attacking fullback, as we know from FPL history basically. Malo Gusto really convinced me this past game for Chelsea. Got an assist only, didn't even get a clean sheet, but then he was clear on bonus points with 34 BPS, bonus point system points, which just really convinced me really. He started the game, played all 90 minutes. 2 Chelsea defenders were subbed off before him in both Badiashile and Colwell. So I think Gusto has proven that he's kind of nailed-ish at right back now that Reece James is out for a couple of months. And Gusto has gotten a couple of assists over the season 3 so far. Actually, so yeah, I think he looks like a good pick. Final pick in defense, Gabriel. He's also pretty much nailed. I just love Gabriel in general, even though he's been quite a letdown lately. But he did score that 1 goal when I started him, which I'm really grateful for. But yeah, Gabriel is just staying in my team for the best defense in the league so far, at least in terms of underlying numbers. Yeah, Gabriel just stays in my team. Salah, I keep for 1 more week just because I think it's the best captaincy option. If I thought another guy was a better captaincy option, maybe I would already downgrade Salah to a cheaper midfielder, which I'm going to get to pretty soon as well. Because that would save me 1 transfer and give me the chance to go straight to Haaland if I need to next game week. So, but yeah, I think Salah is just a decent guy to have. Newcastle at home, I think that's a really good fixture, and you can always just sell him next game week and get a lot of money in your bank straight away. So yeah, Salah is a nice option to have. Saka, I have been considering to sell as well, but yeah, I'm pretty sad with my midfield in general. But Saka, been really disappointing lately, but Arsenal have so much more to give, I think. They're creating a lot of chances lately as well. They actually have really good underlying stats, but yeah, it's just something that is lagging for them with their attack. So yeah, Saka I'm just going to keep for now. I think it's also a nice placeholder in case De Bruyne comes back and looks good or Maddison comes back and looks good. Could easily swap Saka to those guys and have some money saved up in Saka. He also has a chance to score a lot of points in these next few game weeks. Fulham away and Crystal Palace at home, and then a decent game week against Luton, I think, I would say, away in the fixture after that. He just has really good fixtures in general, and I feel like I need that Arsenal attacking cover. He's the most popular player in the game currently, actually. He's owned by like 59% of the game, which is more than Haaland now as well, because Haaland has been sold left, right, and center. So yeah, I think Saka's a decent hold for a couple game weeks. Give him a couple more game weeks to prove his worth, and then if it doesn't, then just ship him out, because yeah, he just hasn't been the best lately. Phil Foden, like I mentioned previously, I really like for this game week and beyond. I think he's going to be one of the main guys for City going forward. City also have potential double game weeks coming up. They don't have a blank in game week 26 either, which is something that's going to affect also Spurs, which is another reason why Pedro Porro is someone that I probably leave out of my team. But yeah, they don't have any blanks coming up, but they do have potential double coming up. Or at least they're going to have a double coming up, because yeah, the Brentford game is going to be either in game week 21 potentially, which would be crazy, or it will be in 24 or 25, I think, in terms of game weeks. So yeah, Foden has some double game weeks coming up. He has a really nice form in terms of, looking good for City. It was really amazing against Everton. And yeah, I think it's just a really good pick in general in midfield. Then we have Jared Bowen, who's just been delivering all season long, and now they have really good fixtures. There's no competition for places, with Kudus leaving for African Cup of Nations as well. Bowen's going to take up the mantle as like the main guy for West Ham again, after Kudus has been sort of like the main guy lately in terms of getting points, at least in FPL. But Bowen has been ticking along nicely and getting points basically so much consistently as well. He's also a really good captaincy option next week when he plays Sheffield United as well. So yeah, I really like Bowen as a pick too. And then Palmer's on my bench actually in my midfield. So I really like him in general as well. He's probably like my most nailed pick to have in the team, basically just because of his price and him being on penalties and Chelsea having really good fixtures. So yeah, Palmer's also a given in this team. Then when it comes to my attack, I have basically the template 3 strikers. Watkins against Burnley at home. I'm pretty happy with Watkins, but I'm also starting to lose a bit of faith in him, but he has really good fixtures. So yeah, I think now with better fixtures and more rest, Aston Villa look a lot better again, and Watkins will be benefiting from that himself as well. Solanke has looked amazing, and I think the game against Spurs now is also a pretty good game for him, so I'm definitely going to start him after seeing Spurs getting dismantled by Brighton. I just have to start Solanke, and that means that Palmer gets benched, sadly, but yeah, I really like Solanke as well, especially in this fixture. And then Alvarez against Sheffield United at home. I finally caved. I think this has been like my most contentious spot in the team. I've been thinking about Ivan Toney as like a really fun like GW21 comeback sort of player. He plays Nottingham Forest at home. I feel like that's a great fixture. Potentially a really great captaincy shout as well. I really like Bowen as a captaincy shout in GW21 as well. So that's probably why I'm going away from Toney. And also just to being unsure about Toney in general. Coming back from 8-month suspension or whatever. Maybe he's not going to be fit to play and start and play 60 minutes plus like you need him to if he's back. So there's just enough of doubt when it comes to Toney. But then again, Toney could also be fit to play because he's usually one of those guys who's just really a professional player who's going to be fit for fight. And he has trained with Brentford for several months now. So he should theoretically be match fit. But as we know from footballers, they need a couple of matches, like real life situations, to finally get up to speed. So yeah, I am tempted to go with Toney, especially if they get a double game week in 21. He would be a really nice option, but yeah, I think Alvarez is a safer option for now, and this option is just going to be a placeholder for Haaland anyway. I'm going to sell either Alvarez or Toney, or potentially Nkunku, who I'm also considering, or Joe Pedro, or even Gabriel Jesus I was considering until he looked pretty bad against West Ham. But several options in attack, I think, beyond Watkins and Solanke, but Alvarez is the safer option, like I mentioned earlier in this video as well. He's someone that I had early on in the season. I had him from game week 3 onwards. And yeah, he's on penalties, he's on set pieces now, or he's on penalties now with the Haaland being out, he's on set pieces with De Bruyne being out. So for this game in particular, I think he's just a really good shout, and yeah, just going to have him basically in my squad. I think. I'm still 100% sure, but I think he's going to be in my squad. When it comes to my bench, I also haven't mentioned the defenders. Estupinian, I think, fantastic option. He was in my wildcard draft already before he scored that rocket of a goal against Spurs. But yeah, just reminds us once again that Estupinian is just a fantastic player to have in FPL, even though Brighton don't keep that many clean sheets, or none so far actually. But I think that could change with Estupinian back and some other players coming back as well, and them just being a stronger team. I think they're going to get some clean sheets pretty soon in FPL as well. And Estupinian just has that attacking threat. He's the most attacking defender probably in the whole game. It feels like he has so much license to roam forward, and I just really like Estupinian. I love Estupinian as a player in general, so yeah, he has to be in the team. And then currently Branthwaite is like my makeshift last option just for a cheap price, but I do have 1.3 million in the bank, so I could go with someone like Moreno, for example, and bench Gusto for this game week. I'm not 100% sold on Gusto still, but or Chelsea, I should say. So I could potentially do that, Moreno in for Branthwaite, but that leaves me with less money in the bank, and I just feel like I need all the money in the bank that I can have, basically, because at some point we're going to need Son back in the team, at some point we're going to get Salah back in the team, potentially Trippier is someone that I'm actually considering once their fixtures get better from Game Week 23. I want to keep Trent, I want to keep Watkins most likely, I'm going to get Haaland at some point, so there's just not enough money to go around, basically. So just having like a cheap bench option in Branthwaite who can just stay on the bench for a cheap price and play whenever I need him to, just feels like the smartest thing to do currently. So yeah, that's pretty much my team. Let's go into what I usually present in the weekly wildcard draft, because this is basically my weekly wildcard draft final edition. I had the video earlier in the week as well where I talk more about these players. If you want to see more content, you can check that out. You can also check out me and Kevin discussing the weekly wildcard draft, which is another edition of it in the podcast, and hear Kevin's thoughts about the different players and stuff. But this is basically what I ended up with for this week of the weekly wildcard draft. It could still theoretically change if I do change my own team. I'm going to change my weekly wildcard draft team as well, but I'm going to post this on my own Twitter account that you can see below me there, at the FPL Scope on Twitter. So add me there, or follow me there, I should say, if you want to see like the latest team that I'm going to put out, and basically my weekly wildcard draft for the game week 20 in the end. But yeah, this is basically my team, I think, for now. 4 players dropped out since last time. Peter Porro, like I mentioned now, he's dropped out of the weekly wildcard draft. Richarlison as well is someone that I considered last week, but he just keeps getting subbed off after like 60 minutes and has like small issues, and he's always an FPL troll. So, and Spurs just don't really look the best currently. So staying away from Richarlison for now. And Kunku, like I mentioned, he's someone in a lot of consideration for me as the final attacker spot as well, but I would bring him in to bench Palmer in that game. Maybe Palmer does really well. And Kunku's also just back from injury, so I don't know if he's going to play every game, especially now with Palmer and Sterling coming back from suspension as well. Just not really sure about Nkunku as like a main option. And then Areola as well. He's someone that I dropped out since the last weekly wildcard draft, but Henderson is there just as a placeholder, maybe. I don't know. Still unsure about Areola and Henderson. So please comment down below if you prefer Areola and Henderson. I think it's a pretty dead heat, basically. So it doesn't really matter. But Henderson for now gets his spot because of those fixtures against Brentford at home and Sheffield United at home in these next upcoming game weeks, basically. So that's basically my weekly wildcard draft. That has been the whole video in terms of what my plans are for the wildcard, and also everything that happened this past game week, free hit drafts, all the content that you need basically for this upcoming game week, hopefully. So if you have any questions, please drop any comment in the comment section down below on YouTube. I will definitely answer all your stuff, unless like it explodes and I get like massive amounts of comments, but that's probably not gonna happen. So yeah, either way, I'm rambling like I usually do in the end of these videos, and yeah, my throat has been a bit iffy this video, so apologies for that as well. But for now, I'm gonna leave you there, and yeah, just really excited about FPL going forward. There's gonna be not that many game weeks coming up because the winter break in January, but yeah, pretty excited about this phase of the game as well. We're halfway through the season and it's going really well so far. So I hope you can continue with me on this journey and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And with that, I'm going to leave you adieu with this video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.